5 ways how to invest £50,000 in property coming up. Welcome back, my name is Marco. I'm a property investor, developer and mentor. And today I'm talking about 5 ways and 5 strategies how to invest £50,000 in property. Now, I've scoured YouTube and there's a lot of content with a slightly different angle. A lot of people are telling you how to invest £50,000 in property, but they're not giving you 5 different ways. They're just giving you the one bog standard buy to let strategy. But I'm going to give you 5 strategies, including the buy to let strategy, but I'm going to come on to other types of strategy, and we're going to start this video with the low risk strategies and work all the way up to the high risk ones. So do stay tuned to the very end of this video, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the 5th strategy. Although it's the highest risk, it's the one that requires the least amount of capital. So without further ado, let's start off with number 1, which is investing in buy to let property with £50,000. So if you've got £50,000, you can probably buy about 2 buy to let properties. And here's the math. So let's say we're buying 2 properties and the purchase price is roughly around, say, £80,000 each, and we're putting a 25% deposit down. So 25% of £80,000 is £20,000. We're buying 2 of these properties, so £20,000 times 2 is £40,000. So you've got £40,000 of your £50,000 going towards the deposit contributions. Great. Where's the other £10,000 going, Marco? Well, they're going to the other fees. So your stamp duty at an acquisition around this level is around £2,500. I'm making the math nice and easy. Again, your legal fees could be about £1,500, and your mortgage broker fee could roughly be around £500. So in your other fees, you're probably just below the £5,000 mark. And again, we're buying 2 properties, so £5,000 times 2 is below £10,000. So once we've added up our deposits, which are £40,000, on other fees, which is £10,000, all of a sudden you've got £50,000. So this £50,000 cash you have, you can purchase 2 buy-to-let properties with finance. So you're getting a 75% mortgage, you're putting down a 25% deposit. And you could quite comfortably buy 2 properties around £80,000 purchase price in the north of the UK. Nice and simple, right? And this is what most people will teach you to do. And don't get me wrong, it's a great strategy. It's a strategy that I certainly undergo, but I'm going to give you 4 other strategies and other ideas that increase in risk and therefore increase in reward. So number 2 is to invest that £50,000 in one doer-upper property. Well, what do you mean, Marco? Here's an example. So let's do the math. Let's say we're buying a property for about £120,000, but it needs a full refurbishment, or at least it needs money spending on it. We can use the exact same loan to value as the previous example. Let's say we're only putting in a 25% deposit. So 25% of £120,000 is £30,000 cash. Well, we know we've got about just over £5,000 in other fees because our stamp duty is slightly higher at this higher purchase point. So £30,000 plus £5,000 over fees, you're looking so far £35,000 cash. But let's say we need to spend £15,000 to renovate and modernise this property. Maybe it's not a full refurb, but maybe we need to do the bathrooms and the kitchens, and that amounts to roughly £15,000. So our total investment cash-wise in this property is £50,000. That's absolutely great. So this is one way of investing £50,000 in one property purchase. However, we're going to take this to the next level. So what we can then do is, after we've done the works, we can then refinance or sell the property to pull out the added value and that added equity we've made by refurbing the property and increasing its value. So you can pull out that cash. Sometimes you can pull all the cash out the deal, but other times maybe you've only got a little bit of cash left in. And the cash that you can pull out, you can then reinvest and repeat the process and scale your property portfolio. So that's example number 2. Let's move on to example number 3, which is to buy a single HMO, house of multiple occupation. What is a HMO, Marco? Well, a HMO is a house of multiple occupation where 3 or more unrelated people live in the same dwelling. So for example, it could be a group of 4 students living together all under the same roof for the academic year. It could be, say, 5 young professionals sharing a house. They've all got their individual rooms but sharing the kitchen. That's an example of a HMO. And the reason why HMOs are slightly higher risk is several reasons, but let's legislation-wise, there's a lot of changing legislation around HMOs, and there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment, and therefore they're seen as higher risks. Also, banks and lenders, people that lend on the acquisition and the purchase of houses of multiple occupations, typically charge a slight premium for this to reflect the increased risk. But the nice thing and the pros of HMOs is typically they generate a higher cash flow than standard single buy-to-let properties like in Strategy 1. So HMOs are typically more expensive than standard buy-to-lets, and that's why I think £50,000 will definitely only get you one HMO. So let's move on to number 4, the fourth strategy on how to invest £50,000 in property. And this is actually by joint venturing with someone else who maybe also has £50,000. And Marco, why would I do this? Well, here we go. If you've got £50,000 and someone else has £50,000 and you collate that pool together, well, you've got £100,000. And in property, the more money you have, typically the more bargaining power you have and the more discount you can command. So let's say if you can buy in cash and you've got £100,000, so maybe you can buy in cash, certainly in the north of the UK, you'll be able to generate bigger discounts because you're paying with cash and you're not relying on finance to make this deal happen. Another reason why you may want to consider joint venturing with someone and pooling your funds together to invest is if you're investing in the south of the UK, well, good luck getting a property around the £100,000 price point. It's more or less impossible. So if you're joint venturing with someone else and they can match or put in money as well maybe you can buy a property in your target area. Now, there are risks in joint venturing, and that's why I've placed it towards the end of this video. Things may not be as rosy as they are between you and your fellow business partner 5-10 years down the line, and that's why it's really important to have a solid shareholders agreement. So before you start buying property in partnership with someone else, it's really important to write down your shareholders agreement and both sign it. Okay, so the last and the fifth strategy to invest £50,000 in property is a high risk strategy, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't actually require that much capital. So here it is. Now, first of all, caution here. I don't recommend that anyone does and undergoes this strategy if they are new to property. This strategy is best suited to people that have property experience, or maybe they've been an agent for 10-20 years, or they're a property professional, but they haven't yet started their property portfolio journey. So you've got all the knowledge and the experience as a property professional, but you've never invested in property before. This could be an ideal strategy for you, which is where we're buying property using bridging finance. Now, what is bridging finance? Well, I've got a very good video that details what bridging finance is. I'll link to it in the description, and here's a picture of the thumbnail. But bridging finance is a method of short-term finance. So bridging finance, come in at short notice and you'll be able to get finance agreed within a matter of days and weeks on a property purchase. It's essentially like purchasing a property with cash. So it's a very fast turnaround, and it allows the seller certainty that you're going to complete in a timely manner. Now, bridging finance is perfect for buying property at auction or buying properties at vendors that require a quick sale. Now, the nice thing about bridging lenders is they can lend based on the market value of a property up here and not the purchase price that you've agreed below it. So this is why I say it doesn't require that much of your cash, because if you've negotiated a really good discount, say you're buying, 30-40% below the market value, well, maybe you won't have to put in any money at all or any of your own money to make this deal happen, because the bridger is willing to lend on the market value and not the purchase price like normal mortgages. And let's take this one step further. Let's say we only need to put in 10, 15, 20,000 pounds of our own cash to make this deal happen. Well, all of a sudden we can afford to purchase 2 properties with bridging finance because we've got £50,000 to spend. You could quite easily purchase 2 properties using bridging finance, providing you've secured them at a very, very good discount. So what I'd do if I was you is check your local auctions and try and get a really good bargain. And for those of you that aren't familiar with property auctions, I've got a really good video that breaks down 3 ways, yes, 3 ways on how to purchase property at auction. I'll link to it in the description. Here's a picture of the thumbnail. So if you know a vendor or you come across a vendor that needs to sell fast, bridging finance is absolutely perfect. So to recap in order, we've spoken about 5 different strategies on how to invest £50,000 in property. The first is through buy-to-let property investing. The second is through buying doer-uppers. The third is by buying a house of multiple occupation. The fourth is by joint venturing with someone else who's got cash to contribute. And the fifth is by purchasing with bridging finance. So I hope I've given you a bit of a flavour of what you can do with £50,000 in property. But I'm interested to hear about what you're doing with your £50,000. Comment in the description below which strategy you're undertaking. And there's hundreds of property strategies, and of course I can't mention them all in this video, but if you're doing something new that I haven't mentioned in this video, please do pop it in the comments because it'd be useful for everyone else else to see what you're doing with your £50,000. So thank you to those that have subscribed to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me. We're getting some good traction now, and it's really pleasing to see that all this effort and hard work I'm putting into these videos are paying off. And as you know, every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 o'clock, I release a full length video. So do stay tuned for that. But YouTube tells me the majority of people watching this channel are not subscribed. So it does mean a lot to me. Please do consider subscribing, and let's help grow this channel and get these videos in front of the people that need to see it the most. So thank you very much for watching, and I wish you all the very best in your property investing day. Take care.